I've got a bicycle with bigger tyres than that on. So welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon and welcome to the Stoke Row Classics. Now, it's an absolutely great steam fair and there's a huge turnout of classic cars again this year. Let me walk you around them, tell you a bit more about them, and maybe we'll bump into some of the owners and have a chat with them. So first up, we'll start up with this little beauty, which is a Rolls-Royce 2025 from 1934, bought by the owner about 15 years ago to do weddings. It's hard to believe that back in the 50s and 60s these were virtually available for scrap money. Incredible, isn't it? And how few of them survive. Rare to see them, and that one's an absolute beauty, isn't it? So here's a Mark I Ford Transit with a difference. It's a camper conversion. One of only two that were built by Nimrod Conversions down in Devon. One of the owners of the company actually died shortly after this vehicle was produced, I think for the Camping and Caravan show in 1977, and thus there was only two ever made, and this is one that survives. It's in absolutely stunning condition. The owner said it's never had any welding done whatsoever. The only thing it has had is a respray. That looks absolutely glorious, doesn't it? Look at that. Isn't that a beauty? So this is a 1964 Ford Zodiac, but with a big difference. Guys, this is a camper conversion. Now the interesting thing is with this camper conversion, there's only ever been one of these built, and let's have a look and guess who built it. Yes, Ginetta. So you'll have seen some of the Ginettas on my recent video at their G-Fest 65 year celebration, but this is one Ginetta that wasn't there, and it truly is an absolute one-off. Isn't that fabulous? So the Zephyr and Zodiac Owners Club is out in force here today, and this is a 71 vehicle. I think this is the Zephyr. It's an absolutely superb looking car. It's had some enhancements on this particular one. Interesting to see the storage of the spare wheel. I mean, that is a long bonnet, guys. There's room for a big old engine there, and the spare wheel as well. Got that twin headlamp treatment, and it's got some quite tasty looking alloy wheels there. Isn't that lovely? And they're a bit like buses, these. Here's a 71 Zodiac Mark IV. These were big vehicles, and probably you will recall that these predated the Mark I Ford Consul Stroke Granada, which I think was launched in 72, 73. And we've got an older Zephyr version there. Difficult to explain on camera how big these cars are, but look at the side of this Wolseley and you can see that the sheer size of this. It's an absolutely massive car, isn't it? So this Wolseley 6110 was bought and restored by its current owner, but it had a previous life operated by the police force as a police car. That's a great story, isn't it? So we can always find time for an Austin A35. The 35 had the bigger back window like this one. This particular vehicle has been owned by the family since 1980. So it's a 1953 car. It's in lovely order, isn't it? And you know, these were a proper small family saloon back in the day. Four-door version, this one, and a separate boot, which wasn't always a given, that you got access to the boot from the outside on some of those cars. Think of, I think, Standard 8s, for example. That's glorious, isn't it? So these are particularly useful vehicles, and you just don't see them often enough. It's actually a 1990 VW Caddy, so obviously golf based. This one's got the tonneau cover on the back. To be honest with you, so many of these got used, abused, suspension dropped, used by wannabe surfers. This one survived, and it is in pretty good nick, I'll have to tell you. So a 1967 VW Beetle. Next to it, a couple of I think these are both A35s, but these are the two-door versions this time, in stunning order. These are cute little cars, aren't they? And next to it we've got another camper, and this time a Bedford CF250. You remember that Bedford were the commercial division of Vauxhall, both of them owned directly by General Motors. from the 20s right the way through to about 2017. Bedford was fantastically well-known vans and a fantastic brand. I think succeeded for a short time by AWD, that some of you might recall, and then eventually that was a brand that also stopped, unfortunately. Fantastic to see them here along with the Transits as well. So built under Ford ownership is this X300. This is the Sport, not actually the XJR, but it's a beautiful colour. Next to it we have got a modified BMW 2002. These are becoming really rare these days. It looks like a reasonably late one. It's an M, and I think that would place it 73, 74. Next we have got a badged Exort Mexico. Lovely Cibi Oscar lights at the front. It's got a roll cage in it, and certainly if it's an evocation of a rally car, it's got the right stickers on. It's got the Daily Mirror RAC 1973 rally. Who doesn't remember those rallies, and who doesn't remember the Lombard RAC rally? Come back, all is forgiven, eh? That's beautiful, isn't it? So possibly not as Roots Group might have intended. This is a Humber, but with a difference. Wow, what a big difference that one is. Probably with a small block US engine in there. It's not that small, is it? Because it's sticking out of the bonnet. Well, it says from detached, it says from December 64. And let's have a look. As you recall from a recent video that I made, do you remember where the filler cap is on these? Well, I'll help you out. It's behind this rear reflector in the lamp. Fantastic, isn't it? What a great looking car that one is. For a modified car, that's been done really well. 1957 so-called sit-up and beg Ford Popular. That's a lovely looking car as well, isn't it? And next to it, at the other end of the scale, we've got a Mark 1 Escort, but a Mark 1 Escort Estate. I mean, Mark 1 Escorts, you do see them from time to time, they're highly prized, but Mark 1 Escorts Estates, it's got the typical for the period pop-up sunroof, when all of us were taking angle grinders to our roofs and putting in pop-up sunroofs. Beautiful colour, isn't it? I think that's an original Ford colour as well, and even the Bristol Street Motors dealer plate in the back window. That's lovely. So here's a lovely 1977 Mark II Capri 3-litre gear manual. That lovely bronzy metallic. I'll try and put on screen what that colour is. I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe I've got that at home in a brochure somewhere. Fantastic. Vinyl roof, and this time we've got a factory sunroof in there, factory metal sliding sunroof. Interesting location there. They've vinyl roofed around the jets for the washer. Rear wash wipe and a little spoiler on there. That looks beautiful, doesn't it? So this is a 1955 Buick Roadmaster. The Roadmaster name ran from the late 30s to the late 50s. This particular vehicle's fitted with an absolutely huge 5.3 litre engine, and well, to give you some idea about the length of the car, it just goes on and on and on. And in actual fact, it is something like 127 inches in the wheelbase and nearly about 18 foot long. Looking at this, lovely inside, isn't it? What a beautiful car. What a sense of occasion you'd have driving that. There's no shortage of room there. Look at the controls. The back, we've got that extended rear deck, and we've got the spare wheel on there, and we'll just get that in shot. Appreciate it is magnificent, isn't it? Now, I can't admit to be a massive expert on American cars, but this one certainly caught my eye. It is a Ford Thunderbird from 1969. Again, massive cars, goes without saying. Look at that front design. What an interesting design on the front wings, how it curves into the lights with those wider rear arches. That really is unusual, isn't it? Let's take a look inside the car as well. Just have a look. They've kindly left it open. There's obviously clearly left-hand drive, so imported. Looks pretty comfortable in there, to be honest with you, on that bench seat, doesn't it? And we'll get some shots from the back as well. That is very, very lovely. I think this is a so-called C3 Corvette, Chevrolet Corvette. Lovely colour, isn't it? Got the T-bar top. That's fantastic, isn't it? Oh, I love the colour. So owned by the current owner for 50 years, apparently rescued from a scrap yard from its near destruction, is this Rover 75. Now this particular one is from 1953, and what a lovely specimen it is. Very early cars had that single lamp in the middle and so-called had the Cyclops name. We've also got an XJ8 in memory of the first owner. That one's here, so that's superb to see that here. Bit further along, apologies for the noise in the background. It's a very lovely jolly day here at Stoke Row. We've got an MG Magnet from 1955. These are lovely, aren't they? So who says, you know, the MG badge engineering started long time before the 80s and 90s, and this one's an absolutely lovely specimen, isn't it? What a beautiful car. Fantastic. So here's a 1965 Ford Galaxy, now sporting 410 cubic inches, it says. Well, it's difficult to argue with that, isn't it, really? These were used massively successfully in BTCC races of the 60s. Incredible how much you could hustle these around, and that one's a lovely one. It's certainly sporting quite a lot of power. Look at the side exit exhaust down there. That's incredible, isn't it? Some very wide tyres there. Wonderful. So you know you're getting old when cars you had back in the day are now being regarded as classics. This is a 1989 1.8L Estate Sierra. So commercial travellers, travelling salesmen, sales reps, whatever you call them, had the luxury in this one of a tilt and slide sunroof, and believe you me, that was quite a big deal back in the day. Loads of room in the back, and these were ploughing up and down Britain's motorways. Thousands upon thousands of them. And how often do you see one? Not very often. We're pretty pleased to see that one today, aren't we? Completing the collection here, the other end of the scale, 1937 Austin Ruby. That looks absolutely lovely, doesn't it? Next to it, we've actually got a 1992 Morgan. Again, difficult. They didn't change that much throughout the ages, did they? And that's obviously representative of the breed. I think it might be the +2 bodied cars. And we've got a Humber 928 Tourer. So I guess when Humber was a separate company. I'm not quite sure what the next one is. I'm going to have to do some research on that one, to be honest with you. That's obviously an American classic. Well, I'm not quite sure. It's been heavily modified. I do recognise this next one as a Vauxhall. It's a Vauxhall 6. That's a lovely car. It's a Vauxhall Velox, in fact. Can you believe that's from 1949? I suppose styling's of its period, but you know, that is fantastic to see that car here today in lovely order as well, isn't it? This 1938 Morris 8 had been laid up since the 80s until the current owner took the vehicle on and restored it. Quite a lot of the rust was hiding beneath it. It's got this fabulous sliding roof, which on a day like today is going to be extremely handy, isn't it? This is lovely. Beautiful order. Look at those little narrow tyres on the back. I've got a bicycle with bigger tyres than that on. Incredible, isn't it? What a great car. Now I'm guessing this Zephyr pickup or ute or bucky, depending if it came from South Africa or from Australia. It's a right hand drive car, so that narrows it down a bit. Is in lovely order. Next to it we've got the ADO 16, so ADO Advanced Design Office Project number 16, that's all, 1100, built with a series of badges by the BMC group. That one's in beautiful order. Mine 1000, built from 48, codename Mosquito originally. Alec Isigonus's work, of course. MG Midget. And we've also got another Morris 8 two-seater convertible. Triumph, I think this is a TR4. I think this was a Michelotti design, later redesigned by Karmann, I think, of Germany, when it became the TR5. Mini-based Wolsey Hornet. That's beautiful, isn't it? And the addition of that boot just makes that car so much more practical, doesn't it, than the standard Mini. Mark II Jaguar. Oh, they just keep coming here. Some absolute beauties at Stoke Row this year. Series 1.5, lovely primrose yellow. Series 1.5 Jaguar E-Type. Well, who doesn't like an E-Type? Another from the Roots group. This is a, I think it's a Singer Gazelle. I pretty much think that's the case. Now, celebrated her 50th birthday not that long ago is this Marina Coupe. Now, I had one of these back in the day, and it looked a pretty solid car until the point I came to jack it up and the jack went through the floor. It was white with a tobacco vinyl roof, long since gone, I'm sure, but one of the best-selling British vehicles, one of the best-selling vehicles full stop, in the 1970s was the Marina. Difficult to believe. I think underneath the vehicle, some of the ancestry owes its origins to the Morris Minor. And finally, we've got in full Leyland Cars racing livery a Triumph Dolomite. So the Dolomite Sprint is celebrating its 50th birthday, so happy birthday Dolomite Sprint. And this one's a lovely example, isn't it? I do love that racing livery from the 70s. So this looks like it's a 71 version of the vehicle launched while Sir William Lyons was still in charge at Jaguar. In the code name, I think the code name was something like XJ2 or 3. The vehicle obviously is known to us as XJ6, XJ Experimental Jaguar and 6-cylinder. That's a lovely car. Then we've got the Austin, I think it's the Austin 3000. I can't remember the ADO name for that one, but these were big vehicles. You can see the close resemblance to the Land Crab and the Maxi versions, but it's difficult to pick up on camera, but this is a pretty big car, to be honest with you. Another Mark II Jaguar, and we've got the Sunbeam Alpine. Beautiful. Obviously I do like the Tiger versions with the larger US, I think that was the Chrysler engine in. I think that was probably an imported, looking at the badge, MX-5 or Unos. And look at this beauty. This is a Vauxhall Viva HB, I think. It's an SL90 from 1966, and the owner is, believe it or not, just the third owner of that vehicle. That is in glorious condition. Now the Viva nameplate's celebrating, I think, 60 years this year. If you want more information about Vauxhalls and these particularly, I've got that covered in my Vauxhall event from Gaydon. Just I filmed that one recently, which is worth a watch if you haven't seen it already. Ford Prefect. There's another Prefect or Pop side valve, the Ford side valve owners clubs there. And what's this? Is this a Citroen? Yes, it's a Citroen Traction Avant. You know, Citroen Light 15, commonly referred to, I think, as Traction Avant, traction in front wheel drive. Quite a revelation for the day, these were. Quite a revelation. So this May 70 Cortina Mark II, I think the deluxe version could have been had for the princely sum of £856, 8 shillings. So I think that looks like pretty much a bargain. I must admit, I'm drawn to the one next to it, which is the Cortina Mark V Gear, facelifted Mark IV, picked up different wraparound indicators. Being the gear, it's got those 3 stripes just underneath the rubbing strip on the side. That one's in lovely condition. I do remember these. My granddad had one of these, and they're lovely cars. 2.3 litre V6s especially. And we'll try to have a look inside that one, because that just gives us a step back, literally a step back in time there. So we've got those wood capped doors. We've still only got wind up windows in there. We've got a little bit of wood, and this one's an automatic as well. Great to have a look at that one close up. What a lovely car. So we've got an extensively rebuilt Mini. That one's had a massive amount of work on it. Looking at some of the pictures, the owner's taken it right back to the structure. We've got a very nice, well I would say that because it's mine, 1990 Mercedes 190e in Ascot Grey. That model is celebrating its 40 years of the UK press launch in October. Big event with Mercedes-Benz Club at Mercedes-Benz World, so watch out for that if you're a Mercedes fan. Now we've got the Victor 101. Now I think this was the Victor FC. The 101 designation on the side, it's badged 101. Somebody said at one stage it was to do with 101 improvements over the previous model. The owners told me that that's not the case. In actual fact, it's they wanted to use the 101 badging and Peugeot stepped in, but by which time they'd already used the 101 and had the badges created, so they were allowed to badge the vehicles but not to use it, I think, in advertising, certainly. This one has a great story. It came from Cornwall. It was ordered by an undertaker, and not surprisingly it's black, but when it arrived he decided not to take the car and it was sold to somebody else and spent most of its life in Cornwall. What a fantastic story. And apparently it is the only black one left in the UK. So if you've got another one, stick it in the comments. So Toyota's MR2 midship runabout 2-seater. This is a facelifted car, not the early cars. It picked up more body coloured parts. It's the T-bar version, the very useful T-bar. So you just pop those out and you've got a full, pretty much a full convertible feeling, manual as most of these were, mid-engined, and it was supplied by Clockhouse Garage. So it's got the original dealer plates on and stickers. That's beautiful, isn't it? So here's a 74 Vauxhall Ventura. It's a car that many people have forgotten about. Remember the Granadas in a similar class and probably the top end of the Cortinas, but when's the last time you saw one of these? It's pretty rare to see them. This one is in absolutely, I can't emphasize enough, it's in stunning condition. It really is. Apologies for the traction engine in the background. Can't really argue with that. What a lovely car. It's got a tow bar on, so it's had a bit of a life as well. That's beautiful, isn't it? So this was purchased new, this Austin 7 purchased new in 1929 by a family in Hampshire, then proceeded to spend about 48 years on a farm in West Sussex until purchased by the current owner back in 2013. That's lovely condition, isn't it? I mean, you know, I might not be an expert on these. I'd certainly love to have a drive in one of these. You know, these were the cars that got Britain motoring after World War II. And if you think about the work that Herbert Austin and others did as part of that, it was an inspired move, really, wasn't it, to give families mobility at a relatively cheap price. So the styling of the minivan hardly changed throughout the whole life. So unlike the cars which were updated, the front pressed metal grille stayed the same. Those external door hinges didn't change right the way through its life. It's got the vent in the roof there. It's in beautiful condition. These are worth inordinate amounts of money. They really are. Why? Because so few survived. They were so commonplace, but so few of them actually survived. Now this was a 1954 Morris Cowley. Now I'm pretty sure that production of vehicles similar to this continued in India for a while. Maybe I'm thinking of the sister car to this one. It's a stunning looking car, you know, car from the 50s in beautiful condition. We've got column mounted gear change, which was the thing back in the day. Quite a bit of space in the back of this one as well. Lovely looking car, isn't it? What a survivor. So this lovely taupe grey 1965 Minor 1000 is called Millie, so hello Millie. Next to her we have got a Triumph 2-litre Vitesse, Herald base Vitesse, and next to that one we've got another Morris. Let's have a quick look at this one. Morris 8 again. Beautiful, isn't it? Now the next car to this one is an Allegro. The difference with these is they came off the line at British Leyland and they were transferred down to the Vanden Plas works in North London. Certainly all the original cars till very late when it closed, and the vehicles were properly reworked into something a lot more executive-like, luxury-like, with more wood, picnic tables. The main changes on the bonnet because of cost, and that limited them to a change in the bonnet and the grille that you can see. But rather than just being something that was badge engineered, it was properly built by Vanden Plas in North London. Fantastic cars. And celebrating a 50th birthday, we've got a Bentley, I think that's a Bentley 8. Next to it we've got the performance version of the MGB, the MGC with a larger engine. I think that was the 3-litre Austin engine. Wasn't particularly well received, I think, due to the weight of it, and eventually succeeded with a bit of a gap by the V8 and E-Type Jaguar. A Rolls Royce of some description. I've not got all the details on that one. And a really lovely period Zodiac, Ford Zodiac. Don't you love two-tone? Two-tone was something that was available back in the day. You don't see many two-tone cars these days, do you? So the Morrises are out in force. This time we've also got another Mini. This is a Mini pickup, also rare, sporting the same lack of changes, door handles, original door handles, sliding windows, and that pressed metal grille. A more standard MGB, and another A35. What a great collection of cars here it is today, isn't it? So we've got a fabulous Daimler SP250, the last car Daimler made before they were taken over by Jaguar. Jaguar wanted the capacity for the Radley engine plant because they had some capacity issues at the time. This car was launched at the North American, I think the New York Motor Show, but due to legal action with Dodge, the name Dart was never actually used, although many people refer to it as the Daimler Dart. It couldn't be used for litigation that Dodge took out. Stunning car inside. Look at that absolutely fabulous dashboard. Reasonable amount of room, those bucket type seats in there. Absolutely lovely. Some great period wire wheels. No, they're not necessarily a bit of a looker. They've got a bit of an acquired look to them, I guess you could say. But because of the glass fibre body, I mean, it was far cheaper and quicker to get the car in production with a glass fibre body than it was with a metal, and that's how we ended up with I guess the construction that we have. So just less than about 900 of these Jowett Jupiters were made, launched in 49, I think, running all the way through to the mid 50s with a 1500cc, I think it's a flat 4 engine in this one. This is a lovely example of this. Jowett, a company that because of a reduction in car tax and an increase in sales, led Ford to take over the company that was building bodies for Jowett, the Briggs Motor Bodies in Doncaster. And unfortunately that was the end of Jowett when they couldn't get bodies made. Also some issues about them producing their own gearboxes. Nevertheless, they were way ahead of its time. Obviously, if you look at the Jupiter, launched in the late 40s, that's a good example of it. What a great looking car. Beautiful inside as well, isn't it? Stunning, and with so few built, you're certainly not going to see many of these around, are you? So thanks again for joining me on Lot 76 Cars for this quick walk round at the Stoke Row Classic Car Rally, at this fabulous Steam Festival and Fair that takes place every year in Berkshire. Hope you've enjoyed the cars that we've seen today, having a closer look at some of them. It's quite a mix. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so as not to miss the next video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And here's the 1962 Unimog that I drove not that long ago. Fantastic, isn't it?